Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Emmanuel, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can basically have a sweet and consistent code base using Swiftlint. All right, so basically the idea is that we're going to have Swiftlint enforce certain rules that are going to basically make sure our code base and the people who contribute to the code base follow certain laid out rules. All right, so what we're going to do, just go ahead and create a new project and just go straight to view controller. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple of functions. And I'm going to create them in different ways. All right, so first of all, let's go ahead and say func. Let's call this test, and let's say h1, and let's say this particular function takes an int. All right, let's say test1, and yeah, so this person creates the function like this. You can go ahead and create another one, test2. Let's call this h2, and this person creates the function with a space. Right, that is good. Let's go ahead and create another function, test3, and this h3, and this person puts a space before and no space after. That is fine, cool. And then we have func test4, and this time this person says h4, and a space and a space and int, and open curly brace. And finally, let's create one more with a different style. Test5, age 5, and this one says, let's say int, or puts a space here, I don't know. And no, this one is a little bit different. So this person opens the curly brace on a different line. All right. Now, if I go ahead and build this, you will see that, all right, the build was successful. There's nothing wrong with these functions, right? These are just the way people decided to write their code. Maybe it was a typo or a mistake, or it's just the way they prefer. But this is not consistent. And you know, one of the beauties, or one of the things that, or one of the ways you can know a code base is clean or good is when it is very consistent. So you cannot visually tell that different people contributed to the code base, because, you know, everyone is following the same format. And that's what we want to achieve. We want to make sure that our code base is clean and consistent. So as people come and contribute to the code base, then it's just going to look good. Now, one way we can do that, of course, is to basically just look through every pull request and make sure that everyone follows the format. So if I see wrong indentation in the pull request, I leave a comment and say, hey, change this. Another way we can do it is to allow a machine to do the enforcing. All right, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up terminal, and we're going to have to install Swiftlint. Now, the way I like to do it is to use brew install. So what I'm going to say is just brew install Swiftlint. All right. Now, if you just go ahead and press enter, I already have mine installed. If you press enter, this is going to install for you. So what you can also do to confirm that your installation was successful is to just go ahead and write Swiftlint version. And I am currently on 0.50.1. All right. So just go ahead and install that and make sure that everything is set up. Now, the next thing we want to do is let's actually just open up the documentation. So I'm just going to open up Safari right here. And if you go to the documentation, you can actually see exactly what we just said here. So install Swiftlint, and I'm actually going to leave a link to this, so don't worry about it. You can just check the description. So you can also install with CocoaPods or Mint. But the next thing we want to do is we want to run Swiftlint whenever someone builds the project. So whenever someone just builds the project, run Swiftlint and just shower them with all the bad things they're doing. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this and go straight into Xcode. So we're going to click on the target and then make sure the target is selected, go over to build phase. And here we're going to create a new script. All right. You can go ahead and call this Swiftlint. And here, I'm just going to paste what I copied. So basically, this is going to check whether you have Swiftlint installed or not. And then it's going to run Swiftlint. All right. So now that we have that, we can go back to the view controller and just go ahead and build. And just like that, we have a lot of warnings. So not errors, we have a lot of warnings. So let's go ahead and fix these warnings. The first one here, it says colon spacing violation. So colon spacing should be next to the identifier when specifying a type, and next to the key in dictionary literals. I'm not completely sure what that means, but I know that we have to put space here. So now that that is done, we can go ahead and build again. and you can see that this is gone. So let's go ahead and fix for the rest. We know that there should be space. You can see that this one didn't even complain at all. And then here, we want to remove this space and put it right here. I think that's what they're saying about it should be next to the identifier. It should be next to this one. All right, so go ahead and remove this one, and let's go ahead and build. Okay, good. So actually it doesn't complain about this one. I'm sure there's a rule for that, but let's just go ahead and remove that. So the next thing we see here is it says trading white space violation. Line should not have trading white space. So basically this is just empty space. They don't want that. So we can actually just go ahead and say do stuff. Or you can add whatever code you want to add. Go ahead, put this right here. And when you build, ooh, all of them are gone. So now we have one more. So trading white space again. So it's from here, remove that, remove that, remove that, and go ahead and build. And now all of these are fine except this one. So here it says, oh, we missed this one. So here it says opening brace spacing violation. So opening braces should be preceded by a single space and on the same line. All right. So this is on a different line, so we have to bring it over here. And if we do this, it's still going to complain because it said it should have a single line. So if I put 2, it's still going to complain unless you go ahead and put just 1. And just like that, you can see how just by fixing the warnings that were identified, we basically now have a very consistent code base. So functions, the declaration, the definition, the curly brace open on the same line. We have space in here. We have space in here. We have everything just looking all nice and clean, right? This is what we want to do. Now, there are a couple of rules. So you notice that when we just did this and we built, we had all the warnings there. So by default, we have certain rules that are enabled. So you can just go back into the documentation and just look at all the rules we have. So these are default rules, and you can see all of these are default rules. The one we just did recently was, I think, brace opening, oops. Opening brace. So this was the one we just did. And if you go here, you will see a detailed explanation. I really love this. So they show you examples of when this rule will not be triggered. So if you open it like this, you're safe. If you open like this with maybe a map, you're safe. If you have this, you're safe. And if you do something like this, then you're not safe. So if there's no space here, or this is on the next line, or you wrap your arguments and then move this one to the next line, or there's no space here, for all of these cases, this particular rule is going to be triggered, all right? So you can actually go through this documentation and just see beautiful like explanations, beautiful things here that you would like. So yeah, the next thing I want to show you is how we can basically specify our own configuration. So we want to opt into certain rules. Let's say we want to opt into one I also like, docs, I think. Yeah, missing docs. So this is one rule that I like, and it makes sure that whenever you implement a public method, you have to document that method. So this is one thing I like to use. So how exactly can we add this? So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up terminal, and I'm going to create a new file. So I'm just going to say touch.swiftlint.yml. All right. So this is the file I want to create, .swiftlint.yml. And then let's just actually open this with Visual Studio Code so that we can see exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste a configuration that I use in my own project. You can actually go ahead and use the same template, or you could decide to basically modify or create yours from scratch. It's very easy to do. So, oops, I copied the wrong thing. All right. So this is the rule that the template that I currently use. And basically there are a couple of rules opted into. So remember I said by default, certain rules are enabled, but by default, well, certain rules are not enabled. So use this, for example, closure spacing. Now, if I were to remove, or let's just go ahead and look at this in the documentation. If you go to the here, if you search for closure spacing, you can see this is an opt-in rule. You have to opt into it. And when you go here, you can see non-triggering cases. So if you have something like this with your curly braces like this, you're good. If you have something like this, you're good. Like this, you're good. Now, when is it not good? Now look at this. We have this, or we have a map with a spacing over here. So if you do anything like this, then things are going to be bad. Now, in my rule, I have this. Oh, let's actually disable this for now. And then right here, I'm going to create, or say, let's create an array. And this is going to be 1, 2, 3. And I can say let's string nums be equal to. So what I want to do basically is to map this into a string. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this 0 and convert this to a string. Now, if I build this, this is going to work. You can actually go ahead and just print string nums. So if I build this, yeah, I forgot about this. So I have another rule set up, which is a custom rule, and I'm going to get to this later. But so whenever you try to use prints, it just warns you so you don't end up committing the print statement to production or to GitHub. And actually, I'm going to get to this later on, but let's just go ahead and remove this. And if I go ahead and build this, trailing space, build. So we have this warning. It says this is not used. It's okay. For now, just disregard this. I want to show you about this. Actually, let's remove these spaces. Now, let's build this. And everything is good, right? If I go ahead and put a space here and I build this and I check the warnings, you can see that we basically still have just one warning, which is this one that's not being used. But if I go ahead and I uncomment this and go back and build, you're gonna see that now we have a warning here. It says closure spacing violation. Closure expression should have a single space inside each brace. So if you put one here, you're gonna have to put one here as well. All right. So if you go and check, now that is gone. So these are certain rules that you can opt into, and they're really good. I would say, like, they're really good. Now there's one more I opted into that I mentioned earlier, which is missing docs. Now let me show you an example. Let's say, for example, I make this, or let's just go to the bottom, and I create a public class parent. And then I say, let's say func or public func again, make investment. If I go ahead and build this, you're gonna see that now we have a couple of warnings. So first of all, the missing space, yes, we already know that, some stuff. But the main thing I wanna show you is missing doc. And what this does is whenever you specify like public, if you check the documentation, you also see open and a couple of others, if I'm not mistaken, docs. So missing docs, you see we have open, public, and then it excludes this one out or whatever. So for something like this, you're gonna have to document your class or whatever public attribute you've created. And I actually have a video on documentation. If you haven't watched that, you can just go ahead and watch it right over there. But what we can do is just go ahead and document this and say, this is the parent. And if I go ahead and build this, this one is safe. Come here and say this and this function allows you make some investments. Good. Now, if I go ahead and build this, it works. Trailing space, of course, go away. Good. So now you can see that our project or our code base is looking very consistent, is looking very clean. You're following, best practices and everything. And this is just beautiful. All right. So before I end the video, I just wanted to show you just a few more things, and I'm not going to go in depth here because of time. But basically, you can decide to disable some rules. So if you want a certain rule to you don't want certain rules to not be executed in certain conditions, if you put that here, then the rules are going to be disabled throughout your Swiftlint. So for every file that is going to be linted, it's just going to disable them. But if you want to disable certain rules for certain occurrences, so let's say, for example, here, I want to have the space here, right? Now I see this warning here. So what I can do is I can decide to disable this particular rule for this line. So this is the name of the rule. I copy this, and here I'm just gonna say comment Swiftlint disable, and just paste, oops, not like that, and just paste the name, all right? So when you do this, it's going to disable Swiftlint for the next line, all right? Now you can decide to do this. There are a couple of other parameters. You can disable next, you can disable this, you can disable previous. So let me just show you what it looks like. So if I say disable next, of course, it's gonna do the same thing, disable the next. So it's gonna disable the rule for the next line. If I disable previous, and I build this, then I'm gonna see that the warning comes here, right? So it means that this is gonna disable for the previous one. So there's no previous. If we move this down here and I build this, then the comment goes. At the same time, you can disable this. So just come here and say disable this, and this is going to disable this line, all right? So if you did just disable like this, then this is not gonna work. It's still gonna complain. So you can also decide, just like I mentioned, to do global disabling. So if you go here, the rule is colon, and you come here and disable colon. If you come here and build, you would notice that like that, this is gone. If I were to do spaces and wrong ways, it just disables for everything, all right? So this is something that you need to be aware of. Let's return it because I don't like badly formatted text. Good. Now the next thing is excluded. So this is basically what folders do you want to exclude from being linted? Do you want to lint everything, including your pods, which I don't recommend? So just specify the folders that you want to exclude from this linting warnings. Then the next thing, you can actually specify individual rules, or basically customize your rules. So for this one, your identifier name, the minimal length is 1. So if I were to create a variable, or like say let a equals 2, and I go ahead and build this, then is it gonna come up? It's not coming up. But for something like this, if you do certain minimum characters, then this is just going to warn against that. So you can specify your minimum length, your maximum length. You can actually give, thresholds of what you want to become a warning or an error. So this is going to be warning if it is 50 characters. Then when you get to 60, hey, no, that's too much, and it's going to become a warning. So you can do this for, like different other rules that you want. Then the next thing, look, there's another rule. This is the function body length, and then we're also specifying the length, the warning, and the error. All right. Then the last thing here that I'm going to show you is custom rules. So custom rules basically means that you want to create your own rules. Here you can basically check for, naming conventions or whatever, or don't use certain, I don't even know what to say. But look at this as an example here. So there's no direct standard out log. So anything like print, debug, print, whatever, whenever you have anything like that, this is going to show you a warning. So this is a severity warning. You can actually change that to error if you want. So how do you create a custom rule? You just go ahead, specify the name, and then you need to specify a regular expression so that the Swiftlint can basically tell if the code matches that expression. And I'm actually going to make a video about regular expressions sometime in future. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Also click on the notification bell so that you are aware whenever I release new videos. But this is going to be very important. So you can basically see here, bprint, bdebug print, bdump print, debug print, whatever. If any of these things is detected in your code, then it's just going to, print the warnings over there, right? So, and this is going to match the kinds as an identifier. You can also match as comments or whatever, but that's just going in depth. If you actually have questions, go ahead and leave it in the comment section. So this is the message that's going to be displayed if you fail, and the severity, as I mentioned once again. So if you noticed, let's see if this one comes back. Nah, still not coming back. But anyhow, if you noticed, while we were encountering different warnings, whenever we wanted to, silence those warnings, we had to manually fix stuff. So for something like this spacing and things like this, especially the trailing white space, we had to manually fix these things. Now there's a way that we can do it automatically, and that's what I'm going to be showing you in the next video. I'm going to show you how we can use Swift format to basically format our app to follow certain, or not our app, but our code to follow certain predefined rules. And this is going to be done automatically. Like, we don't have to manually do this thing. There are some, of course, you would have to manually fix, but for most of these like repeated ones like this, and the curly braces and spacings and things like that, maximum length and things like that, this is going to be really helpful. So again, if you haven't subscribed and you want to know when I release the video, well, next week, but you can just go ahead and subscribe, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.